On the Pacific Rim, I will talk briefly about New Zealand. It seems to be going through some kind of government changes, and it's not very popular with some of the residences there, and there seems to be a lot of rioting, more than usual. New Zealand is usually, I would think, a bit quieter. I don't know, but I mean, it's not as vocal or violent as some of the protests that have been going around the world in England, France, etc. But I am seeing riots in Australia too, obviously, and that's about certain government decisions, but also about land, surprisingly, in Australia. And here, this is not to do, it's something to do with taxes, but it's also to do with land and some kind of excise tax. So that's going to be about end of April that it's going to start, that one. Talking about politics or riots, there's Papua New Guinea. It's pretty good. I don't see anything really horrendous there in that area. But Indonesia, there's going to be a lot of revolt and huge amount of rebellions, really riots, with government clashes, things like that. There seems to be a relatively new group, I wouldn't say terrorists, but they're a very young group that it formed about 2 years ago, that I see that are stirring things up there and trying to create change for the better. They really honestly believe that, but it's pretty intense and confrontational. Okay, Thailand's moving to be far more, I wouldn't say liberal, but they're trying to move into far more of a, how can I say this, international mode, where they're trying to excuse me, bring up their game plan a bit more, where they are tightening banking rules and all kinds of other regulations. So they're getting far more, not, I wouldn't say professional, it's not really under professional, but far more stricter with things that they're doing. They're trying to do more controls, put it that way. All right, that's it for now. These are some of the predictions for the Pacific Rim, which I kind of sectioned out, but it's not including Australia. Australia has its own predictions video. And what I'm seeing is there's a lot of, and I covered it I think in a bit of another video, but a lot of more intense weather, rain, flooding, and also what do you call that? The cyclones and typhoons. But it's more, there's going to be about what would be classified as cyclones, but with around about 17 cyclones, but they could be going ramped up with another 5 intense to 12 typhoons, from anything from 2 to level 5. I see there are 3 level 5s coming in next year, and they're all going to be coming in, in the top range here. I'm just going to pan up. Whoops, daisy. So basically, it's really in this area here that they're going to come swooping in and coming in and even hitting as far as, and I'm not Sri Lanka, but oops. Of course, they don't move when you want it. There you go. So it's really hitting Thailand, a tip of it, but it's mostly the Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, I'm afraid, in Indonesia or Papua New Guinea, they all get hit with that. And these are the typhoons that I'm really worried about, and where it snakes in and out. And most of the level 5s, Cat 5s, are going to be of the typhoons. There's one in November next year, but there's one coming in April, in July, around about the 27th, August 24th. There's a kind of a double barrel there, and a more intense one coming in, and these are 3s to 5s coming in August 17th and 25th. September 17th, and these are all possibles that they really ramp up into typhoons. So I'm afraid that's going to be quite devastating. Talking about the devastation, but flooding, and again, the monsoons are going to be pretty horrible again, and I'm seeing flooding in, even though this is Asia/Pacific Rim, I'm going to put that one in, but basically there's flooding here. Actually, I'm going to stop it there, and I'll put that in Asia. I apologize. Okay, so this is Asia, but this is monsoons, and what I'm seeing is, and I'll bring that screen down a bit more, that unfortunately the monsoons are going to be affecting India, where it is here too, but quite frankly, this is the core where the monsoons are going to be pretty harsh. There's flooding, horrible flooding in Sri Lanka, in the southern tip to up to the northern Bangladesh, and those areas there that I'm seeing, where you're going to see, or Chennai, these lower level, and then even in so much as the monsoons affecting around here as well. But Bangladesh, Myanmar, Burma in here, Thailand, on the coast mostly, not Bangkok inside, Cambodia. So it's like a circle that it's really drenching, and I'm afraid there's a lot of deaths associated, but down in Tamil Nadu, down here in southern India, Mumbai, all of those areas, not as much Mumbai because it's up here, but it's here is where it's going to get really intense, and monsoons, okay? There is there's an earthquake coming in here that's going to come off on these islands here. I'm seeing late July, really August, and it's going to send out ripples. It's a 7.2, could be a 7.6, and it's creating a tsunami, which is affecting Sri Lanka, here into India, around there. But it's not going to be a devastating one, but it's definitely going to create a tsunami, which in Sri Lanka and obviously this coast, these coastal islands will have to be careful about any visitors, okay? So that's on Asia in flooding. And the droughts I'm seeing are really in here, in this area here. Seeing a lot of droughts in there too. Nepal, just above here, I'm seeing a 7.6 to a 7.8. For the Nepalese people, it's going to be pretty harsh, but that's an earthquake, but it's kind of reasonably down, maybe about 35 kilometers down, so, but it's still devastating because they, of their precarious life and position in the way of their huts, unfortunately, and very sadly. So there's going to be, and I'm going to switch to another screen and I'll be back in a minute. And earthquakes for the Pacific Rim, Papua New Guinea is just going to keep on being very prolific with earthquakes, and it's around here, Indonesia, but it's really this area here and the strait over here. And as you can see, it's still being very active. Here is where the 7.5 earthquake was, and that's going to keep on being active, but as you can see, it's not even on a fault line, but Fiji is always being affected. There'll be a 7.2, and it's about 15 to 25 miles down. but it still affect them obviously. Then there's all of this fault line coming down to New Zealand, and I believe I was right. I gave it was going to be a high earthquake there, and it was. There's going to be 7.2s to 7.6, any of those areas from here, and it's not so much as this, even though this one, it seems very unstable this year coming up. And there's one here that's going to happen as well, but that's more a 6.8, 6.5. Isn't it strange? We used to worry about a 5.0s, and now they're into 7s and 8s. And that's it for the moment, okay? Hi everyone. This is the earthquake USGS, and this is just for 30 days, and all earthquakes only for 4.5 above. So you can see how active as usual, and this is what they call the Ring of Fire. It's very active, and this is not bad actually, but that was the 7.5, where he's seeing a lot more activity here, and that's one thing I'll talk about in Asia. But this is what I was talking about, 6.2, round about here, okay? And obviously South Africa is being hit as well. Sorry, South America, what am I saying, South America, and that's part of it. We haven't even got to see there's more activity coming in Chile and a few other countries in there. But Japan, that's going to experience a 7.2, 7.9. But that's going to be pretty deep. I don't see any tsunamis being generated from that. So people don't need to worry about it. Okay, thank you for joining me. Weather, I am seeing a king wave, and it's not a tsunami, by the way. All right. Oopsie daisy. All right. Okay. Well, do it that way. There is a tsunami coming in, and I don't know if it's to do with an earthquake around about here in the Indian Ocean. There's like a 6.0. I can quickly try and hold on a minute. I'm going to try and bring up an USGS map for sorry, just bear with me. It's around about here is the fault line that runs through and then splits here and splits down there and like that in through New Zealand and upwards. So that's the fault line, okay? And we're going to, well, the Earth is going to experience about maybe as much as a 6.8, not exactly Prince Edward Island region, but round about there. Just off the coast here, there's going to, well, I guess it's not just off, it's about here, that you're going to see about a 6.2, and even a 7.1 is in this hole where it splits off like here, just like that. It could be a 7.2 to 7.5, okay, in there. So I'm going to cut away in a minute and I'll show you what we have in USGS, and this is just for a month that we have, how much, how very, sorry, hold on, how much the earthquakes are hitting, I'm afraid. Australia, even Alaska has its points where it actually hit a 7.0, and that was quite devastating there. The 7.5 in New Caledonia was large too, obviously. So I'm just going to go to another screen. Okay, hold on, please. In all these videos that I'm talking, I will be doing intermittent updates. I don't know when they will be. It all depends if I see something that I'd like to really put out there. But it's very important, I know, to some people to be forewarned, and that's all these predictions are for, is to be forewarned and not to be scared, but knowledge is power, where you can be proactive about your thinking and your actions. And I'm not talking about violence, please, God, no. But it's just more about, okay, what do I need to do for myself to make myself secure and my family and loved ones? And if you start just really looking at that and not panicking or being in fear of the world's situation, you won't live and exist in that fear cocoon, which you can't, to be honest. There's no air there, and it definitely will warp your view, and let alone your decision making. Okay, and I'll talk to you another time. Thanks for watching.